Ever wonder what would happen if everyone followed every single traffic law to the letter? Not just most of them, but every single one, no exceptions? What if the very act of perfect obedience created absolute chaos? Well, in San Francisco, a group of frustrated cyclists decided to put that theory to the test, and the results were unforgettable. If you're ready for a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about traffic, then you're in the right place. But before we dive into the incredible details, do me a quick favor, like, subscribe, and comment for more Reddit stories. Your support helps me bring these wild tales to life. Now, imagine San Francisco. It's a city famous for its hills, its fog, its iconic landmarks, and for being a pioneer in countless cultural movements. But beneath that picturesque surface, like many bustling metropolises, it's also a city grappling with a perpetual war on its streets, the silent, often simmering, conflict between motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists. For years, San Francisco has prided itself on being a bike-friendly city. Thousands of residents rely on bicycles for their daily commute, weaving through traffic, conquering those formidable hills with impressive ease, and embracing a more sustainable, active way of life. At the heart of this vibrant cycling culture is a particular stretch of road known affectionately as the Wiggle. For anyone who cycles in San Francisco, the Wiggle isn't just a street, it's a lifeline. It's a zigzagging, relatively flat path that cleverly bypasses some of the city's steepest hills, connecting the eastern parts of the city with the western neighborhoods. It's an indispensable artery for cyclists, and naturally, it sees a massive volume of bike traffic every single day. But here's where the friction begins. For years, cyclists in cities like San Francisco have operated under a kind of unwritten, informal understanding of traffic laws, especially regarding stop signs. Many riders employ what's colloquially known as an Idaho stop, treating stop signs as yield signs and red lights as stop signs. It's a practice born of common sense for cyclists. Maintaining momentum is safer than constantly stopping and starting, and bikes often have a clearer view and can react quicker than cars. It's not strictly legal in most places, but it's often tolerated because, let's be honest, it generally works and keeps traffic flowing better for everyone. However, this informal truce was recently shattered. A San Francisco police captain, responding to what was likely a vocal segment of the public, began publicly calling for a strict crackdown on cyclists. His message was clear: bikes needed to obey all traffic laws, just like cars. No more rolling through stop signs. No more treating yield signs as mere suggestions. The law was the law, and it applied equally to everyone, regardless of their mode of transport. Now, you might think, well, that's fair. Rules are rules. And on the surface, it sounds perfectly reasonable. But for the cycling community, this wasn't just about fairness, it was about efficiency, safety, and a fundamental misunderstanding of how bicycles actually interact with urban infrastructure. They felt targeted, misunderstood, and frankly, a bit insulted. They knew, intuitively, that rigidly applying car-centric traffic laws to bikes would not only make their commutes longer and more dangerous but would also, ironically, make traffic worse for everyone. So, instead of just complaining or staging a traditional protest where they blocked traffic by breaking laws, a group of organizers, led by individuals like Morgan Fitzgibbons, came up with a brilliantly subversive, incredibly ironic, and utterly genius plan. They decided to protest the proposed crackdown by doing the exact opposite of what everyone expected. They would protest by obeying every single traffic law, to the letter, with an almost religious devotion. Their goal wasn't to break the law, but to expose the absurdity and inefficiency of applying car laws to bikes. They wanted to show the city, unequivocally, just how much worse traffic would become if every bicycle approached intersections with the same cautious, time-consuming protocol as a car. This wasn't just civil disobedience, it was malicious compliance at its finest. The word spread like wildfire through the cycling community. Social media buzzed. Riders from all over the city, and even some from beyond, committed to joining this peculiar act of rebellion. The air was thick with a mixture of anticipation, frustration, and a healthy dose of mischievous glee. They weren't just showing up, they were proving a point, a big one. Yesterday evening, as the golden hour light began to soften the edges of the San Francisco skyline, hundreds of cyclists began to converge along the Wiggle. It wasn't just a few dozen, it was a veritable tidal wave of two-wheeled defiance. Imagine seeing a river of bikes, stretching as far as the eye could see, their spokes glinting, their riders a unified force. The energy was palpable. Everyone knew what they were there to do, and they were ready to execute their plan with precision. The protest hadn't even truly started, hadn't quite taken its full form, before the first ripple of discontent hit. A motorist, already likely frustrated by the growing presence of bikes, laid on their horn. A long, impatient, almost desperate blare that echoed through the urban canyons. It was a premature complaint, a harbinger of the chaos to come, and a clear sign that the message was already beginning to land. The irony, of course, was that this horn was sounded before the cyclists had even begun their campaign of perfect obedience. Then, the ride began. And this is where the real drama unfolded. Picture this: every single stop sign along the Wiggle, and there are many of them, became a moment of absolute, unwavering adherence to the law. Riders arrived in a single, orderly file, not a chaotic swarm. They didn't roll through, they didn't slow yield. They came to a complete, absolute, undeniable stop. Their feet touched the ground. They waited. And they waited. They waited patiently for their turn. They waited for the cars to clear the intersection. They waited for pedestrians to cross, even if those pedestrians were still a block away. They signaled every turn, every lane change, with exaggerated, deliberate motions. They filed through intersections one by one, with the same cautious deliberation as a large SUV, not the agile swiftness of a bicycle. It was a performance of legal exactitude that was, frankly, excruciatingly slow. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The law-abiding act of civil disobedience didn't just slow traffic, it snarled traffic. Almost immediately. Cars, already used to cyclists weaving through and clearing intersections relatively quickly, found themselves completely gridlocked. A dozen bikes at a stop sign, each waiting for a full, safe clearance before proceeding, meant that car traffic in every direction was brought to a grinding halt for minutes at a time. The Wiggle, usually a fluid, if busy, artery for bikes and cars, became a clogged vein. The soundscape of the city shifted. The usual hum of traffic was replaced by a rising chorus of car horns, not just one, but a symphony of frustrated blasts. Drivers leaned out of windows, some yelling, others staring in bewildered rage. They wanted to get home, to their destinations, and here were these cyclists, moving at a snail's pace, adhering to every single rule they themselves had often demanded cyclists follow. The delicious irony was lost on precisely none of the cyclists, and clearly, on many of the drivers. The thing you say you want, every cyclist to stop at every stop sign, you really don't want that, Morgan Fitzgibbons, one of the protest's brilliant organizers, later told SF Weekly. His words perfectly encapsulated the entire point of the demonstration. He went on to warn, "You're going to destroy traffic in every neighborhood that has a heavy dose of cyclists." And destroy it, they did. The protest wasn't just about inconvenience, it was a potent lesson in unintended consequences. It highlighted a fundamental tension in urban planning and traffic management, that rules designed for one type of vehicle don't always translate effectively, or even safely, to another. Bikes, with their smaller footprint, lower speeds, and different physics, often benefit from a different set of protocols that allow them to integrate more smoothly into traffic flow, rather than impeding it. Think about it, a car stopping and starting burns fuel, creates more emissions, and takes up a significant amount of space. A cyclist stopping and starting expends vital energy, potentially puts them in a less stable position, and often takes longer to get up to speed again, thus holding up traffic for longer. The Idaho Stop, or similar yield-based approaches, isn't just about convenience for cyclists, it's often about efficiency and safety within a mixed traffic environment. This protest sparked a massive public conversation, not just in San Francisco, but across the nation. News outlets picked up the story, marveling at the sheer ingenuity and effectiveness of the cyclists' approach. It forced everyone, police, city planners, motorists, and even other cyclists, to confront a difficult truth: sometimes, the very solution you demand can create an even bigger problem. It challenged the rigid notion that all road users are the same and should be treated identically under the law, regardless of their actual impact on traffic. While a single protest rarely changes policy overnight, this bold act of malicious compliance undoubtedly shifted the dialogue. It provided undeniable, real-world evidence to support the cyclists' long-held arguments. It demonstrated that flexibility and context are crucial when designing and enforcing traffic laws in a diverse urban environment. So, what can we take away from this incredible story? It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, the most effective way to make a point isn't through confrontation, but through a radical, almost absurd, adherence to the very rules you're protesting. It forces those in power, and the general public, to experience the full, frustrating reality of their demands. This San Francisco bike protest stands as a testament to creative activism, demonstrating how a simple, ironic act can unravel deeply entrenched assumptions and spark real change. It highlights the complex dance between different modes of transport in our cities and the ongoing need for innovative solutions that serve everyone, not just one group. Ultimately, it's a story about looking beyond the letter of the law to understand its spirit, and sometimes, realizing that the spirit might need a radical reevaluation. What are your thoughts on this? Have you ever seen an example of malicious compliance that genuinely made you rethink a rule or policy? Share your experiences and opinions in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into a fascinating real-world story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more compelling narratives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.